The glasses are just too small for your face.
Well, I knew that was going to become the focus of this podcast. I've been away for a couple of
They're
weeks.
like a child's glasses on an adult's face.
Yeah, but you see, that's the difference in you and me, Nicolette. Like, because I can't find my glasses, my regular stylish glasses, and I went down to the pound shop. Well, it's not called a pound shop anymore, I'm sure, but and you can get glasses for like it was €2.50 for a pair of glasses, and I was actually thinking, this is great. I can lose them as regularly as I like.
So,
where you probably blew some of your fortune on DKNY or something like that. Are they? What are they?
Come
on.
DKNY.
They're not cost more than €2.50 anyway.
Do you know? Because I haven't got them on. Marc Jacobs. They're Marc Jacobs.
Yeah. See, Jacobs cream crackers, or is it something
They definitely
different?
cost more than $2.50, I can tell you. But they fit my face at least.
Yeah, but I was thinking, like, this is actually fantastic because you could just lose them every single day and just go in and buy another pair. Absolutely perfect.
Did you miss the place?
Yeah, like I did. I was away for 2 weeks. I was in Italy, so yeah, it's great. The stress and adrenaline leaves your body over after 2 weeks, and then you come back in, and your level of cynicism and
returns. Did you listen to the podcast I did with Emer?
I didn't listen to it. Why did I get it? I got a little kick in, did I?
A little kick.
Oh, I'll have to listen there now and get my lawyers on it.
We just discussed whether we missed you or not.
And did you?
No,
you did.
We sort of worked out that we didn't. Then I accused you of kind of stalking me, even though you hadn't contacted me at all. Yeah.
I did send you Ray Gunn doing her breakdancing at the Olympics. Did you watch that? No?
No, I didn't see that.
No.
I left you on red.
Did you? You did leave me on red, yeah. It's worth. I'll show it to you.
So for the last hour...
Yeah.
I've been sitting out there alone,
yeah,
my own thoughts. But I have been looking at videos of this guy, Edward Johnston, who is online as Edward Sambora.
Edward Sambora, yeah.
Mm. And obviously the more recent ones, which is they're there just from weeks before whatever happens him, and he murders his girlfriend, Nicolette Ghirxi, who was buried there earlier last week, and whose family are obviously looking for answers on this.
Yeah.
It's an extraordinary story.
Yeah.
He's left a huge amount of content there that, you come down, we were having a little look at it. There's a lot of stuff about the Tate brothers.
Yeah, I mean,
it's about Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much, he's selling a lifestyle, obviously, in these videos. Edward Johnston, obviously, is in the news because on the 12th of August, brutally murdered his girlfriend, Nicolette Ghirxi, but it came at the end of a long campaign of harassment, of allegations of domestic violence. He certainly seems to have run an online campaign against her, defaming her after the relationship came to an end. Edward Johnston was a former soldier, is how he was described when he was killed in Malta, but it seems he served in the British Army, I think. Yeah.
So he has said to people.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to a few people who actually had dealings with him.
Yeah.
So what he was basically doing was he was running this sort of online trading classes.
Yeah.
So he was kind of passing on his knowledge to people who wanted to trade.
Yeah.
And those who are trading appear to be trading in small enough amounts of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're doing is kind of pooling their money and trading together.
Was that what they're doing?
Well, I think to an extent, yeah. I think that
I thought they were all trading independently. They were apparently on a Telegram channel, and he would sort of give them advice and hints on what to buy, when to sell, that kind of thing. And he sat down, and he also did private one-on-one sessions with people. Now, those I have spoken to said that he was quite a good teacher, actually.
Yeah.
And he did bring things to the table. He had an associate as well who was doing the same thing, and they felt he was a little bit better, actually, and better advice. But nonetheless, he was doing this. And there was more than just the trading. There was this lifestyle promise, wasn't there?
Yeah.
You follow me, you can be like me. Look at where I am. Look where I am in life. I'm living in the Mediterranean. I'm so successful. I've made loads of money.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose what's happened in, like everything, stocks and shares have absolutely transformed in the digital era. Like you used to have stock brokers who you would go to, who would then literally go down. You all remember the pictures from films in the 80s where they'd have to go down on the floor and put in orders for stocks. So all that changed with the digitization of these things. And you had, I suppose, even when you look at his videos, like it's a lot of money in it. In our terms, you know, when he's talking about I made 10,000 this week, but in the broader scheme of things, it's small amounts, isn't it? Like he's talking about him after making €500 this morning or whatever. So they're really cutting out the stockbrokers and buying relatively small amounts of mostly American stocks. I think he's talking about
Dow Jones stuff.
And
interestingly, that you pointed out, you know, you only hear of the money he makes. You don't hear of the money he loses. Exactly. This is essentially professional gambling.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably your odds are better with stocks and shares because we don't. I don't. Obviously, I'm buying your glasses worth $250. I'm not. My stock portfolio is quite small.
I did very well on a roulette table.
Did you? There you go. So that's
not having a clue what I was doing. A bit sort of, I like the name of that horse type.
Exactly.
Gambling. But anyway.
Look, your chances are better with stocks and shares because you've had the stock market has gone up in recent years pretty consistently, though. We had a collapse there a couple of weeks ago. So maybe your chances are better than gambling, but you're 100% right. I mean, you never hear, same as the guys who the professional gamblers that we all know that go to the bookies, they never tell you about their losses. Yeah. And if he was making that much money, why would he be running these courses for people who are presumably playing a few €100 to get these.
They were paying, I think, €100. So that was, you know, €100 one-on-one session with them over an hour. And then a certain amount, not very much.
Yeah.
Could be €200 or €300 for 6 months access to his daily Telegram site.
Yeah. So, I mean,
conversations and tips.
So, I mean, if he was making this consistent amount of money, then he'd be able to invest more. And presumably he's not going to need €100 off a punter. To make money. So because it's not just, if you look at it, it's not just stocks and shares advice. Most of his videos are this kind of lifestyle and it fits into the kind of, I suppose, like his whole persona is based around this. I'm an individual man who doesn't rely on anybody. I have this luxury lifestyle.
Self-made,
kind of not responsible.
And luxury lifestyle, like, you know, while the more recent kind of accommodations that he's shown off in these videos would be a little bit more high-end.
Yeah.
The earlier one, which wasn't even from a year ago, was not a high-end property that he was living in. I mean, it was a flat.
Yeah.
And he was showing it off as if, you know, this is the dream.
Yeah. And look, it's still a comfortable flat.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not a kind of like something that is absolutely jaw-dropping. It is complete with IKEA furniture.
Yeah.
You know, there's a small bedroom. He's trading from a desk, probably an IKEA desk put together in the spare room. I mean, it isn't really.
No, it's not
big time.
But you see, it's I suppose, you know, it's the male equivalent of the female influencer, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
I mean, this is the male, I suppose, ideal that's been put forward, not maybe for all men, but it's put forward to a lot of men where they've no boss, they've no responsibilities, they dress well, they keep physically fit, you know, they're disposable income and, you know, they're kind of, you know, so it's a male ideal in the same way that female influencers, which much more common on Instagram about, you know, with clothes and luxury lifestyle. No, but I mean, you know, it's aimed at a different type of person. That's aimed at young men or youngish men. You know, and it's projecting a certain lifestyle. Same way that the female influencers are projecting a lifestyle that doesn't, you know, it's to other women that they're aimed at. So that's what he has.
And he's, you know, he's sitting at you know, Mediterranean side coffee shops and showing people around. And look, this is where I've made it. This is where I'm living. Imagine working in the sun. And he's seems to be quite obsessed about finances, about making as much money as you can. But all the while, things are unraveling behind this facade of success and, you know, fitness and, the perfect life.
Exactly.
Is this obviously very damaged individual who has had incidents in the past and convictions, and all his sort of criminal activity seemed to be focused around threatening people with replica weapons, quite serious stuff. Like, threatening that he had a bomb in a restaurant, and another time he had a replica Uzi.
Yeah.
Very fantasist stuff as well. But there's this complete unraveling, obviously, in the background while he's projecting this perfect lifestyle. He's stalking this girl, terrifying her, and is moving in and out of the country. And he has told her, has claimed that he was to move to Sicily. Now, this was up on his social media, but people I was talking to said that in the most recent months, say in the last 6 months, he had said he was leaving Malta. He was supposed to be going to Sicily, but instead he came to Dublin. And he was also in Glasgow. And in Dublin, he was staying between the Westbury Hotel and the Grand Hotel in Malahide. He was having these sort of face-to-face sessions with his students, as he calls them, charging money. But you got to pay your bill in the Westbury or the Grand Hotel. So he must have had some money.
No doubt he had some money. And of course he can... But projecting an aura of wealth when you don't have any money is one of the things that really drives people to the edge.
Yeah.
Where they start amassing these debts, even if they're relatively small, on credit cards, or they're paying off loans with other loans. That is one of the classic signs of that puts people under this kind of mental pressure. And there's no doubt underneath the image he projected of control, absolute, independence, all of those things, that he obviously had a history of these meltdowns. Those convictions you're talking about, I think were back in 2013. There was a couple of them in the UK. One of them where he produced a replica firearm, which again happened in the most recent case, which led to his death, and he produced it in police in Liverpool. Shortly after that, he ended up in Glasgow making this bomb threat. So it's all of neither of these cases they're both criminal. He was served a prison sentence for one of them. But yeah, it's amazing because if you look at all of those hours of videos, here is somebody projecting the exact opposite. An image of the exact opposite to obviously what was going on for him.
Yeah.
And what was going on for him obviously is this unraveling, this paranoia, this terrible inability to let that poor woman go. That poor woman
18
who wanted...
months they were in a relationship with. And I'm sure he was quite an impressive guy to meet in the beginning. I don't know a huge amount of her background, but she seems to be just, a very respected working woman, single woman, quite successful herself. She's in Malta. This Irish guy shows up on whatever, Tinder, and they meet, and they obviously have a long enough relationship for 18 months. And then she breaks up with him last December.
Yeah.
And it's at that point he turns really nasty.
Yeah.
She becomes really scared.
Yeah.
And she's in touch with the police, and she's reported stuff that he posted about her personal information. I think at one point he posted her address up on social media, and she had been filing reports with the domestic violence section of the Maltese police. There's no suggestion he was, as of yet, had been arrested, but perhaps there was something happening with that. So and then he stabs her to death in her home, in her flat, goes down to a beach area and has this standoff with police, ends up in the water and waves this replica firearm and doesn't end up dropping it before he gets shot. That's why he was shot, because the police felt they were going to come under fire from him. A huge mental breakdown situation there going on. But
it's amazing that you can see even in the weeks before, because a mental breakdown doesn't happen in 24 hours. No. It's a progressive situation that tends to build and build. And it's just amazing that he was also projecting this image, which is the direct opposite to that. Certainly he has there's a touch of that paranoid feel to some of that stuff about the global elites, because he's talking about the global elites coming for people like Andrew Tate and Donald Trump. And of course, you can have those opinions without being paranoid or anything of that type. But certainly people that are paranoid, like, it's such a regular fantasy, isn't it? This idea that they're being personally victimized.
And of course, in more recent times, that had gone a step further with him. I'm saying more recent times, in the weeks leading up to this murder and his own death. But he had been suggesting that the IRA were after him because he had been in the British Army. And like, we just hear that so many times. Such a red flag for me that the IRA are after people, or that, other people with sort of mental health difficulties often will write to journalists or will be drawn maybe to media, and you think you're either reading or you're having some sort of an ordinary conversation, and the next minute in is dropped, the IRA are after me, or the police are secretly following me. And you're going, well,
because it's a
why
paranoid.
Would the IRA be after
like a guy
who's trading and has been in the army? I mean, many Irish people.
Yeah, but you see, it's a very interesting thing, actually. Like, there's two paranoid fantasies that emerge, and they emerge over hundreds of years, and all of these documented cases. But some of the focus of it changes. So in the US, the most common fantasy, paranoid delusion, was obviously not the IRA, but that the mafia were out to get people. And that was the most dominant one in the 80s. And then it changed to some sort of government secret agency, apparently. So they just documented, and
CIA, obviously.
The CIA or other agencies, other unknown agencies. But initially it was the mafia. And obviously in Ireland, the IRA have been there. And also then, obviously, historically, it would have been angels and demons. And in the US, they said sometime in the 2000s, that changed to aliens, getting messages from aliens. So, but what the point is that
was happening in the world in 2000s.
Yeah.
About aliens.
Well, I don't know, but the point is that it's the dominant paranoid fantasies are there's some secret society that is out to get you. And there's also some sort of external being that's greater than, that's giving you messages. And so... And
that you have finally seen clarity.
The bigger picture.
The bigger picture about Trump, about the tapes, about how the world is working. And there's this secret society out to take down anybody who questions this, but you have now.
And obviously, look, that's not to say everybody who believes in anything, any of those things is paranoid, but that is how, that's the clinical expression of these paranoid fantasies. Look, you can look at those videos and it's amazing, I suppose, what social media allows people access to, He's also talking, we just watched one there about him visiting, apparently as a guest speaker at a university in Scotland. And we listened to it there for about 10 minutes. And who was he speaking to and what was he speaking about?
There's
no detail at all.
I actually said to you, we should do that.
Yeah.
He's talking for about 10 minutes on it and he has said nothing.
No.
He has said there are Chinese people in this university. Why?
Yeah.
Because of education.
Yeah, and they're bringing me over to, because of the inspiration. But it's no details. And of course...
That sounds like it's a big reveal the way he presents it. Yeah. Why would anyone be in a university to be educated?
Yeah.
So there is a sort of a skill in saying nothing at all,
Presenting that information. I mean, look, whatever about this individual, and it's, he's now passed away and his family will still grieve him. But I think it has caused a big political issue in Malta because her family, of course, seem a very respectable family with very deep ties in the community. And also she has a lawyer, a guy called Joseph Barda, who's spoken to many media outlets. And they're really highlighting what has been highlighted in this country over time is that what happens when there's obviously something going on in terms of domestic violence. There's no details about any sort of physical violence or whatever, but there's certainly, she made 2 claims of harassment, filed them with the police in I think it was May, and then another one in July, and then she also complained about defamatory posts. So there's obviously these warning signs going on. These warning signs have been highlighted to the authorities in Malta. And despite all of that, and the fact that the police were interacting with him, because you can see that he's put up messages with the police where he's kind of taunting them. Despite all those warning signs, this still happened. And, you know, her family and her lawyer and even the priest at her funeral are saying, how can this happen? And what can be put in place to protect women in this circumstance? The police...
That's the thing. I mean, do we have a real understanding of stalking and the capabilities of stalkers and all the rest of it, and that sort of, you know, behaviour at a distance through social media, that you're threatening somebody, but it's all quite underhand. I did a podcast on stalking recently, over the baby reindeer phenomenon and all the rest of it. And you do wonder, like, how do you know how dangerous a stalker? We've all a bit of an owl stalker at some stage or whatever. Or you could have, and I'm sure everybody has had an ex who's not gone quietly. Yeah. You know, but at what point do you realise you're actually in danger here and this behaviour won't just abate? Or, you know, you always feel if somebody is a little bit behaving, now this is an extreme circumstances. I'm talking about something a little bit more mild. But, you know, you kind of think if I ignore it, it'll go away, or, you know, they'll move on to somebody else, or...
Well, I mean, I think in this case, you could see that he had, his behaviour had led to prison sentences in the past.
True.
So that should...
It should have been a big red flag.
That should escalate it, absolutely.
Somebody with history and, you know... But I suppose in this case, he's moving about a bit, isn't he? He's leaving the country. He's talking about going on to live in a totally different country, which would have been saved the headache for everybody when they were supposed to be investigating it.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, it arises in this country, and people accused of stuff have rights as well, of course, but it's what powers do you give the police or other authorities to intervene in the advance of something, somebody being convicted criminally in a court. And I think that is a big issue for domestic violence, because even in this case, certainly the police have responded in Malta and said, well, you know, she did speak to us, but she wouldn't go as far as making a formal statement on one occasion. And the family, I think, have disputed that. But so there is always those issues as well. Yeah. But there does seem to, certainly people's past behaviour is a great indication for their current behaviour. And you would think in this case, but we don't know if that information about his previous convictions happened in the UK were shared with Malta police or not. We don't know if they, you know, sought that information from international police forces. I mean, it's certainly, but you know, you have to think that there has to be a way for police forces to intervene before.
Is there ever any allegations before of him behaving like this with women? We don't know.
Yeah.
And would love to. And I'm sure actually this story will, you know, emerge as time goes on. I think there's so much left behind online that is so interesting now to watch, with the hindsight, with realising what is also going on in his life, that, you know, it is quite fascinating to be able to see somebody telling themselves as a success story when all the while their life is about to, you know, end in such chaos, and they're about to do similar to somebody else. Had he survived, had he not waved that replica gun at the Maltese police, this guy would have been looking at a life sentence for the rest of his days. You know, teaching people behind bars how to trade, for what use that would be.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, you just see things, people can put up whatever they want on social media, and, you know, how can they be held accountable? Like, there's no quality control on it.
No.
It's just, but yeah.
It's the Wild West.
It's the Wild West.
Well, look, welcome back.
Thanks, Nicola.
All right. I'm Nicola Tallant, and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.